Hello YouTube, this is Tomb Raider. I'll be doing a video of reaction to Scary Stories animated. Yeah, that's it. And then I might play like 2K maybe later and see if I can actually have it look good on the computer. Because I have a USB in this pocket, so I think is what you can use. You can get clips, and then I can see if I can put the clip in here. Not upload it, but download it down here, edit it, and then upload it on here so it actually looks good and it's not some boring, low, graphic clips. Also gotta make sure that these animated stories are this year. I mean, they don't have to, but it's just easier. I want to make sure it's Llama Arts. So like there. Yeah, I guess they don't really have that many, so let's start. Yeah, no, I don't want to play that again.
And Melissa. I'm the youngest and only boy. Growing up, we lived in a haunted house. In fact, the neighborhood was haunted. All the neighbors had experiences. Apparently, it was all built over a military grave site, but I'm not sure how true that is. This was years ago. I was about 5, I think, and my sisters were around their early teens. Our cousin, Vincent, who we call Vincy, was staying over. He's the same age as my sisters. We used to play hide and seek with all the lights in the house turned off, apart from any room our parents were in. So this night was going great.
I don't know why they would do
The only source of light was a flashlight that the seeker had. Crystal was usually found quickly because she had, and still has, really long curly red hair, and it almost glowed bright orange in the light.
I thought
Kiara had
he was gonna say anxiety, because she was like,
long straight blonde hair, so she was found quickly too. But Melissa and I have black hair, so we could blend in better. However, this night, Kiara was the seeker. She found us fairly quickly and only had Vincy to find. So she went to our parents' room and shined the light inside. Our parents had 2 white wardrobes that were attached on either side of a white dressing table, with a mirror on top of it. Kiara could see one of the wardrobe doors was slightly opened, and inside of it, in the darkness, she could see eyes staring out at her. She laughed and shouted, "Found you, Vincy!" But the eyes didn't move. They just stared at her. "I see you, Vincy!" She laughed again. Suddenly, on the opposite side of the room, the curtains of the window flew open, and Vincy jumped from the window ledge laughing. Kiara looked at him in confusion. But I thought. Suddenly the confusion turned to fear when she looked back at the wardrobe. The eyes were still there, wide and staring at Vincy, but then slowly looked back in her direction. Kiara screamed and quickly turned on the room light, and they could both now see that the wardrobe was empty.
what?
Nobody hiding, no pets, no boxes, nothing. Hide and seek in the dark soon became a memory after that.
Some people recruit, MLM. Some people sell other people's products.
That made no sense.
This happened a few weeks ago. I live in California and have always been good friends with this kid named Ethan. We had all the same interests, so we got along great. But that's besides the point. There's this old abandoned house a few blocks away that has been vacant for years. I have no idea why it was never fixed and sold. The point is, it's abandoned.
I wouldn't search that.
All the neighborhood kids are always telling rumors about the place. And to be honest with you, I never thought they could be true.
I'd throw a rock at it if I would.
The house was creepy as fuck, though. So one night, while Ethan was staying at my house for the night, we decided to sneak out at like 1 a.m.
The fact that however old they are and they're doing this at 1, and they look like they're like 6 or 8, it doesn't make sense.
to explore the place. We brought along our phones for flashlights and to record. So we rode our bikes down the block and found the house. It was 2 stories high and made of brick, with broken windows and an overgrown lawn. Basically all the natural traits of an abandoned house. Ethan and I hid our bikes in a bush
That's some really loud walking.
and went around the backside. Oddly enough, the back door was unlocked. One of the rumors is that local homeless people, drug addicts, and gang members all hang out here. So the fact that someone seemed to have been here kind of freaked us out.
Don't go in there.
Inside, it smelled like shit. It was so dark that if it weren't for our flashlights, we definitely wouldn't have been able to see anything. We walked through what appeared to be a kitchen, around through a living room, into a foyer. Just as we were about to go upstairs, there was a sudden, loud thump. Ethan and I both jumped and stood frozen.
I would have
Dude.
left.
I think someone's up there, I whispered to Ethan. Yeah, no kidding, he said back. Let's check it out.
I would have brought
Dude,
a
are you
knife.
fucking crazy? I said. But Ethan either didn't hear or ignored me, as he was already halfway up the stairs. As much as I did not want to go up there, I decided to anyways because there was no way in hell I was staying down in the dark alone. We got upstairs and heard an identical thump down the hall. Holding up my phone to continue recording, I reluctantly followed Ethan down there. We approached the doorway and glanced through to see someone standing by the window. It was so dark, all we could make out was a brown sweater he was wearing. We knew he had to know we were here because we had already shown the flashlight on him. Ethan began to cautiously walk towards the guy. I stood back by the doorway.
What's wrong with these children? If you can't see his face and he looks so creepy, why would you even, like after the first thump, why would you even go up? That doesn't make sense.
Ethan walked up to the guy, strained his body to look at his face, and screamed. He shoved the guy, who fell to the floor, stiff like a statue, and grabbed my shirt collar as he tugged me away from there. I dropped my phone as we nearly trampled each other running down the stairs and out the back door. We got on our bikes and pedaled fast as possible back home.
I mean, if he just fell over and he was stiff, I would have got. It's not really a big deal.
Apparently, when Ethan had walked up to the stiff man, he realized that the man was some sort of taxidermied human,
Oh, okay, yeah, never mind. Yeah, I would run then.
with black sockets where his eyes had been taken out. At the same
Yeah, no, never mind. That's different. That is really creepy.
time, he heard a crack in the floorboards from across the room and saw the silhouette of a man huddled in a dark corner
Oh, yeah, never mind. Yeah, I would have definitely ran then.
watching him. We had the nerve to go back to the house a few days later to try and find my phone.
Yeah, get his phone.
But it was gone, as the taxidermied human and whoever was in that house. We didn't dare report it to the police for fear of getting busted for breaking and entering and sneaking out at night. I know, I guess that sounds stupid now. Ethan and I are still great friends in high school, and this memory is still one we will never forget for as long as we live.
That's creepy. What is this thing with the eye tracking? Because I've heard the PewDiePie memes. It doesn't make sense though. What's that? I have. Oh, it's a book. Oh, no, I don't want it then. Ooh, deep web stories are fun to watch.
A few years ago, while I was in high school,
This sounds like a black guy.
the deep web was becoming very popular. I never really got into it until my friend told me about it because he was into that weird stuff. One day after school, I had nothing to do, so I went onto the browser Tor. I didn't really see much, so I called my friend over so he could help me out. Once he got to my house, we started searching more and more. We saw a lot of drugs and illegal weapons, stuff like that. Then he clicked on a link that was in a
I bet you're gonna find a red room or something.
chat room, and the link said, watch.
Why would you click on that? That's what I don't understand. Like, it could be a huge, terrible virus that could just, like, have spyware or anything on it. And you, like, and plus I think he said they're in high school. So I believe they should be smart enough to know not to do that.
This. As we're sitting there, we're just staring at the screen that went from black to the outside of a building within a few seconds. And out of nowhere, a sticky note that said, want to see something cool? So then I typed, yeah, sure. What was weird was the guy wouldn't type. He just showed sticky notes in the camera. And he also never spoke. All of a sudden, the camera started moving toward the building that it was facing.
I wonder if it's their house.
As we're watching him move toward the building, we noticed that the building was in our neighborhood. Then he quit moving and put another sticky note that said LOL. That kind of creeped me out.
Either he just lives in the same neighborhood as you, and he's just doing it for jokes or scares, or he's just really creepy.
And then a person entered the building, which was eerily dark. The camera stopped at a padlocked door and then unlocked it and opened it.
Please tell me he has a flashlight. Also, it smells like cereal in here, which is kind of weird.
The camera moved toward the back of this dark room, and there was a dog bowl on the floor. Now at this point, the camera was only facing the dog bowl. A few moments later, whoever the person was that was holding the camera put something in the bowl that
I was about to say that's sweet, but since he said something, it's not dog food, I bet you that's like human remains or something.
looked like just slop. Honestly, it looked like feces.
Ugh.
Then you hear another door open and a girl crying in the background.
No. As soon as that happens, I'd be like, gone. Actually, no, I'd call the police, or at least call my parents or someone to come up and watch.
Along with a chain dragon, this girl shows up in the camera crying with a chain around her neck. And the guy shoved her face in the bowl and puts a sticky note in front of the camera that said, cool, right? Then the screen goes black. We sat there for about 10 minutes in disbelief. But
Someone's calling me. Yes? I'm gonna go for a second. Okay, someone's here. My aunt.
But the stream was still live. Then out of nowhere, the camera was back on. And it was in the corner of my street. Then another sticky note that said, 545 East 99th Street off of St. Clair. That was my address. Then another sticky note that said, open the door.
I'm hoping that's just the air.
We sat there confused, then out of nowhere, a knock at the door. I grabbed my phone, jumped up, and we both ran to the back door. Then we heard a knock at that door right before I grabbed the handle. At that point, we had someone at the back door and someone at the front door knocking.
There's this thing called going to where the weapons are, like even just kitchen knives.
We were stuck. Critical thinking wasn't my strength.
Also, call the police. And take a video. Actually, have one of you take a video and have the other one call the police. Or, yeah, police.
At that point, we ran upstairs, called the cops, and locked ourselves in
There we go.
my room. The cops showed up, but no one was outside. Only items that the cops found were 100 sticky notes, all with my address written on them. I told the cops about the building with the girl, and they found it. The girl was 14 and had been missing for 5 weeks. We moved out of that house within a week. But I would never visit the deep or the dark web again.
Yeah, that's really creepy.
Rainy day, I was walking home. On my walk, which is about a mile or so long,
A mile? Why is this dude walking a mile? Can he not drive or ride a bike? Jeez.
I had to walk through a cemetery. Not a stereotypical, shabby, haunted one, but one that had many people walking through and was usually full of maintenance employees. I remember walking by a group of them sitting on benches on a break. I thought nothing of it, as he stood up and started walking at a fair distance. After a bit, I looked back at him and he looked down quickly. He was in the same baby blue uniform as the others and had a gray beard, but I made out a name tag, Frank P. As the other workers faded from sight, he was still behind me. I began to worry. A moment later, he called out, "It's wet, huh?" in a friendly voice. I chuckled politely and agreed. My worries increased a second later when I walked out and he was still behind me.
Oh, that's creepy. Someone did that. I'd probably ask them, what the hell do you want?
I was close to my house now and it started to pour. My house in sight, I started jogging to get there. I glanced back and I saw the man, visibly angry, start running.
No,
As my house got closer, I began to sprint. I didn't look back as I slung the key out of my backpack and opened the door. I looked behind me. I saw the man in the middle of the street. I walked over to the phone and dialed 911.
Please tell me he locked the door.
Before I called, I looked out the window. He was gone. I told my mom what happened when she got home. She didn't believe me. That night, I couldn't sleep. There was lightning outside, and I could see occasional shadows from the flashes through my window in my living room.
I don't know why it's with the door open. I don't do that. That creeps me out.
I lay watching the flashes when I saw a strange outline. I looked
Now, if it's just standing there, it's either your parents or it's some creep.
closer and saw an outline of a man. I stood up and walked out of my room. I walked into the living room. It was completely dark outside. I stood in the doorway and waited. A car's headlight illuminated the pale, shallow face of Frank P. I ran into my room and locked the door.
Why doesn't he tell his mom?
I never saw him after that night. But whenever I see that baby blue uniform, I think back to that night and that haunting image of a skeletal, unnatural face of Frank P.
Instagram influencers have a deep, dark secret about how they make money, and I want to show it to you because if you're clever, you can actually use it to...
Very young. The year was 2007, and I was an 8-year-old girl studying at a primary school. The school was old, and it was built after the war and Japanese invasion in my country. I heard that there were Japanese
invasion.
army men and local people killed on the land brutally. And many teachers and students claim that they have encountered paranormal activity. Although I've never seen anything paranormal at the school, this place still gave me a creepy vibe. My class was located on the second floor, just beside the girls' bathroom. The chilling part is, we could see an old cemetery park from there before entering the bathroom.
Yeah, that is creepy.
One day, when I was studying in my class, I wanted to pee. So, I asked the teacher's permission and went to the bathroom. I got into the first stall and locked the door. There was no light or anyone in there. It was just me. Everything was silent until suddenly, someone banged and kicked the door that was in front of me. I was in shock and froze for the first seconds. I don't know why, but I didn't scream for my life. I just quickly pushed against the door so the person wouldn't break in. After a few minutes, the banging stopped. I waited for a few more minutes and opened the door.
What is wrong with you? I mean, I guess she's 8, so.
There was no one in there. I walked out, ready to go back to my classroom. Then, I saw a student with broad shoulders and chocolate skin standing opposite of my direction.
Oh. Chocolate skin. That is weird.
He was looking at me with a smile on his face. I froze, because he was one of my classmates, and he actually sat near me. I think, after he saw me go out of the bathroom, he followed me.
Maybe he's just being a perv. Either way, that's creepy.
And that was him inside. I quickly returned to my classroom and didn't speak of anything about it to anyone. The student soon went in and sat down quietly. I cannot recall his name, but I still remember this incident even now. I will never forget this horrifying experience. I wonder what would have happened to me if I didn't lock the door, or if he had successfully broke in that day.
I'm gonna end the video at that because I don't want it to be super long. Bye.